Welcome to Native Bloodline. Today we're stepping back in time to explore the incredible tracking skills of Native Americans. Discover how they read animal footprints in snow, followed trails, and interpreted the land to survive and thrive. Stay with us as we uncover these ancient skills that turn the winter wilderness into a living map. Native American trackers began every hunt by closely studying animal footprints left in the snow. To them, a single track was never just a mark on the ground. It was a story waiting to be read. Snow made these stories clearer, but only trained eyes could understand their meaning. Generations of experience taught native hunters how to recognize even the smallest differences between tracks, allowing them to identify animals with remarkable accuracy. The shape of a footprint was the first clue. Hoofed animals like deer and elk left clean, split impressions, while predators such as wolves and mountain lions showed rounder pads with claw marks. Bears left wide, heavy tracks that often resembled human footprints, a sign of their size and strength. Each species moved in a unique way, and those movement patterns were preserved in the snow like a signature. Trackers memorized these patterns from childhood, learning by walking beside elders and comparing fresh tracks with old ones. Size and depth were just as important as shape. A deeper print usually meant a heavier animal, but skilled trackers knew it could also indicate speed or fatigue. An animal running in fear pressed harder into the snow, while one moving calmly left lighter marks. Smaller, shallower tracks could reveal a young animal traveling with its mother, something hunters carefully noted to avoid harming families and to follow cultural rules of respect. Spacing between footprints, known as stride, revealed even more. Short, evenly spaced prints showed the animal was walking and relaxed. Longer gaps suggested trotting or running. By measuring these distances with their eyes, trackers could estimate the animal's speed, energy level, and even how alert it was. This helped hunters decide whether to continue tracking or wait for a better opportunity. Track edges told the story of time. Fresh tracks had sharp, clean outlines, while older ones looked soft, rounded, or partially filled with blowing snow. In cold conditions, frost crystals, forming inside a print, indicated the track was no longer fresh. A skilled tracker could tell whether an animal had passed minutes ago or many hours earlier, which often meant the difference between success and failure. For Native Americans, understanding footprints was more than a hunting skill. It was a form of respect. Reading tracks carefully prevented waste, protected young animals, and ensured balance with nature. In the quiet of winter, footprints became a language, and those who learned to read it could survive, understand the land, and live in harmony with the natural world. For Native American trackers, knowing when an animal passed through an area was just as important as knowing what animal it was. Snow acted like a natural clock, recording time in subtle details that only experienced eyes could read. By judging the freshness of tracks, hunters could decide whether to follow immediately, move cautiously, or abandon the trail altogether. One of the first signs they examined was the edge of the footprint. Fresh tracks had sharp, crisp outlines where the snow had been cleanly pressed down. These edges looked almost cut, especially in cold weather. As time passed, wind softened the edges, sunlight caused slight melting, and falling snow slowly filled the print. Trackers learned to read these changes with precision, sometimes estimating time within minutes or hours. Temperature played a major role in reading freshness. If the weather was below freezing, tracks stayed firm longer, but frost crystals forming inside the footprint indicated that the track was no longer new. In warmer conditions, melting snow created glossy surfaces or small ice layers inside the print, signaling that the animal had passed earlier in the day. Native trackers constantly checked the sky, air temperature, and ground conditions to match tracks with recent weather patterns. Wind was another critical clue. A fresh track often showed loose snow lightly scattered along one side of the print, pushed by the wind soon after it was made. Older tracks appeared more evenly filled or smoothed over. By understanding wind direction and strength, trackers could determine not only how old a track was, but also which way the animal was heading. Trackers also observed disturbances around the footprint. A freshly made trail might show broken snow crystals, disturbed powder, or faint marks where fur brushed the ground. Over time, these signs disappeared as snow settled and hardened. Even animal droppings were studied. Warm, moist droppings meant the animal was still nearby, while frozen ones indicated hours had passed. This ability to judge time was vital for safety and success. Following a trail that was too old wasted energy and risked exposure in harsh winter conditions. Tracking one that was too fresh required caution, as hunters could unexpectedly come face to face with a dangerous animal like a bear or mountain lion. For Native Americans, reading time in snow was a skill built on patience and observation. It reflected a deep understanding of nature's rhythms, turning winter landscapes into detailed timelines that guided survival, decision-making, and respect for the animal world. Native American trackers understood that animal tracks in the snow were not just footprints moving in a straight line. Every trail revealed direction, intention, and movement. By carefully following these signs, trackers could visualize where an animal had been, where it was going, and why it chose a particular path. This skill turns snowy landscapes into readable maps shaped by instinct and survival. Direction was identified first by the shape of the track itself. The front of a print was usually more defined, while the back showed lighter impressions where the animal pushed off. Broken snow pointed forward, and small sprays of powder often landed in the direction of movement. Trackers also looked for displaced snow at the toes or claws, which showed the animal's forward momentum. These subtle details helped confirm the exact direction of travel, even when the trail crossed hard-packed snow or ice. Movement patterns told a deeper story. Animals rarely traveled randomly. Deer often followed ridgelines or forest edges, while predators used cover like trees, rocks, or frozen creek beds. Native trackers recognized these habits and followed trails that made sense within the environment. If tracks suddenly disappeared, they knew to look along natural pathways rather than assuming the trail was lost. Stride length revealed how the animal was moving. Short, evenly spaced tracks suggested calm walking, often while feeding. Longer, stretched-out prints indicated trotting or running. Sudden leaps, sharp turns, or scattered tracks showed the animal had been startled or was fleeing. From these patterns, trackers could tell whether the animal felt safe or sensed danger nearby. Trackers also paid close attention to signs around the trail. Bent grasses frozen into the snow, snapped twigs and scraped bark showed where the animal brushed past or paused. Drag marks from tails, bellies, or antlers added clues about size and health. In deep snow, paths where snow was packed down indicated repeated movement, often leading to bedding areas or feeding grounds. Understanding direction and movement allowed trackers to predict behavior. An animal heading downhill might be moving toward water, while one climbing upward could be seeking wind protection or visibility. Predators often circled downwind, and prey animals moved into open areas to detect threats. For Native Americans, following movement was about thinking like the animal. By combining tracks with knowledge of terrain and habits, they didn't just follow trails, they anticipated them. This deep awareness made tracking in snow a powerful blend of observation, experience, and respect for the natural world. Native American trackers believed that animal tracks revealed more than movement. They revealed emotion, instinct, and intention. By studying subtle changes in track patterns, hunters could understand an animal's behavior and mental state. This knowledge was critical, especially in winter, when one wrong decision could mean failure or danger. A calm animal left clear, steady tracks. The footprints were evenly spaced, with consistent depth and direction. This usually meant the animal was feeding, traveling casually, or unaware of any threat. Deer moving slowly between feeding areas, for example, left gentle impressions with occasional pauses where they browsed. These signs told trackers the animal was relaxed and less likely to flee suddenly. When an animal sensed danger, its tracks changed immediately. Stride length increased, and footprints dug deeper into the snow as the animal pushed off with force. Tracks became scattered, showing sharp turns or sudden leaps. Predators like wolves or mountain lions showed longer, more powerful strides when chasing prey, while prey animals displayed erratic patterns as they attempted to escape. Trackers learned to recognize these signs and adjust their approach. Behavior also revealed physical condition. Drag marks might show an injured leg or a tired body. Uneven tracks indicated limping or weakness, while frequent stops suggested exhaustion. Native trackers used this information carefully, often choosing not to pursue severely injured animals unless necessary, honoring traditions of respect and balance. Tracks also showed awareness. An animal that repeatedly changed direction or circled back on its own trail was checking for danger. Some animals, especially predators, used these tactics to confuse followers. Experienced trackers noticed overlapping prints and unusual loops in the trail, understanding that the animal was alert and possibly nearby. Weather reactions were visible as well. In strong winds or heavy snowfall, animals altered their movement patterns. Tracks showed animals traveling along sheltered paths, hugging tree lines or moving into valleys. During extreme cold, animals conserved energy, leaving shorter trails and bedding down for long periods. For Native Americans, interpreting behavior was about empathy as much as skill. By understanding fear, calmness, hunger, and survival instincts through tracks, trackers connected deeply with the animal's experience. This awareness guided ethical hunting decisions and reinforced a belief that humans were part of nature, not separate from it. Native American trackers didn't rely solely on footprints. They understood that the entire environment was part of the story. Snow-covered landscapes, wind patterns, temperature changes, and animal habits all combined to create a living map. By reading these clues together, trackers could predict where an animal would go next, turning the harsh winter terrain into a navigable guide. Wind direction was one of the most important tools. Animals rely on scent to detect danger, so prey moved downwind from potential threats. Trackers observed which way the wind was blowing and matched it with the direction of the prints. If the animal had crossed into the wind, it likely felt safe. If it had moved with the wind at its back, it was probably cautious. Native hunters used this information to decide where to approach from, how to stay hidden, and how to anticipate the animal's next moves. Temperature and snow conditions provided additional guidance. Hard-packed snow or ice could preserve footprints for longer periods, while fresh powder erased older tracks quickly. Trackers considered how the snow changed throughout the day, watching for melting, frost, or drifting to determine the age of a trail. They also noticed how animals adapted their paths to the terrain, traveling along frozen rivers, avoiding deep snow, or taking shortcuts across ridges. These choices gave hunters a sense of where the animal would likely rest, feed, or escape. Animal habits were another key piece of the puzzle. Trackers knew when certain animals were active. Deer might feed at dawn, wolves hunt at dusk, and bears stay mostly hidden during the day. Matching tracks with these patterns allowed hunters to predict behavior. A trail leading toward a water source in the early morning, for example, indicated a deer moving to drink, while a predator's tracks near a prey trail could signal a hunting attempt. Trackers also observed signs left beyond footprints. Bent branches, broken twigs, and disturbed snow revealed stopping points and feeding spots. Tree bark scraped or frosted with hoof marks often indicated where an animal had rubbed or rested. Even subtle marks like small depressions in the snow or scattered leaves helped determine the animal's path. By combining these observations, Native Americans could follow animals over long distances without relying on sight alone. Ultimately, tracking in snow was about predicting the future. By combining footprints, environmental clues, and animal behavior, Native Americans read the land as a story in motion. Every detail, from wind direction to stride pattern, worked together to reveal where an animal was headed next. This skill required patience, deep observation, and respect for nature. The snowy landscape was not an obstacle, it was a guide, a living map that told hunters everything they needed to know. Through this understanding, Native Americans didn't just survive, they thrived, moving in harmony with the rhythms of the natural world and ensuring a balance between people, animals, and the environment. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of Native American trackers, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an adventure with Native Bloodline. Leave a comment below with your favorite tracking skill and share this video with friends who love nature and history.